Well, Lipinets' 15-month layoff may be a defining factor because based on the footage from Clayton's last 2 fights, Clayton appears to be an upgrade in quality compared to Abdukakharov, especially in terms of defensive prowess and overall technical skill. But we're about to find out what Lipinets and Clayton serve up in our main event.
Let's take a look at the numbers for this fight and how it shapes out. Now, Lipinets is used to being the shorter fighter, and he's used to having less reach. But will the style of Custio Clayton be the kind of style that will take advantage of that? We're going to find out.
And here are the rules for tonight's main event. No standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. If an accidental foul or headbutt causes a fight to end within 4 rounds, it's a no decision. After 4, they go to the scorecards for a technical decision. From the fight sphere at Mohegan Sun, once more, it's the inimitable, the classic Jimmy Lennon Jr.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Mohegan Sun Arena here in Uncasville, Connecticut, as Premier Boxing Champions presents the featured bout of the evening, brought to you by TGB Promotions and Showtime, sponsored by Geico. This bout is sanctioned by the IBF, the President Daryl Peoples, along with the Mohegan Tribe Department of Athletic Regulations. The chairman of the Mohegan Tribe is James Gessner, the director Michael Mazzulli. Judging at ringside for our main event, from Avon, Connecticut, Glenn Feldman. From Albany, New York, Tom Schreck. And from Noank, Connecticut, Don Trella. Introducing our third man to the ring, he'll be giving instructions after the introductions, David Fields. All right, fans, here we go with the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing for the Interim IBF Welterweight World Championship. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boxing fans joining us around the world, live from the Mohegan Sun Arena, it's showtime! Introducing to you first on my left, fighting out of the red corner, entering the ring wearing gray trunks with silver trim, originally from Nova Scotia, now fighting out of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. He weighed in at the welterweight limit of 147 pounds. He is undefeated in his campaign in the ring with a record of 18 wins, no losses, 12 wins coming by way of knockout. Tonight, making his U.S. debut, here is the acclaimed amateur standout and the current IBF number 5 world rank welterweight contender, introducing the undefeated fighter known as the War Machine, Custio Clayton. And his opponent across the ring on my right, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the colors of the Russian flag, white, blue, and red. Born in Kazakhstan, raised in Russia, now hailing from Beverly Hills, California. He weighed in the same as his opponent, 147 pounds. His record stands at 16 wins, 1 loss, with 12 wins coming by way of knockout. Unbeaten as a welterweight, he is currently ranked the IBF number 3 contender. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the former IBF junior welterweight champion of the world, introducing Sergey Samurai Lipinets. Once again, a referee in charge, David Fields, now to give instructions.
Okay, gentlemen, scheduled to box 12 rounds. I'm going over the rules in the dressing room. I expect you to obey my commands at all times. Most of all, protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves, good luck.
David Fields is the referee for tonight's main event. 20-year pro, his 241st professional bout. Sergey Lipinets, this is his 18th professional bout, looking to move one step closer at becoming a 2-division champion. Custio Clayton, hey, this is his American debut. He wants to make the True North strong and free proud. He wants to introduce himself as a prime-time player at 147. The bell and round one. Lipinets in the white, blue, and red, the colors of the Russian flag, while Clayton is in the gray and silver.
You know, both these men throw almost exactly the same amount of punches per round, 54 punches. They land almost the same. Lipinets 15.5, Clayton 14.5. The only thing is, Clayton has done it against lesser competition than Lipinets have. So we'll see if it all remains the same.
We talked about Lipinets hooking up with Joe Goose, and he told us that it's like going from a high school education, then to college, and now he feels like he's in graduate school. And the best part, Al, is that he says none of it took place over a Zoom call. None of the classes with Joe Goose, and classes in session now for Custio Clayton. And what do you look from Clayton early on, Abner?
Well, he did mention that he was never going to look to press a fight. He was going to work in the outside, wait for Lipinets to make the mistakes. As we know, Lipinets is always going to come forward regardless. So Clayton definitely jab to a body. He has a great jab to a body and set up the punches.
Yeah, Clayton told us that he expects Lipinets to come forward. He respects Lipinets' power, and he's predicting the kind of fight that will leave fans clamoring for more from the Maple Leaf pugilist.
You know, it's an interesting dilemma for Clayton because, in a way, as we pointed out, he wants to back Lipinets up, but he wants to do it at the moments when he thinks it's appropriate. We'll see if he can.
Sharp jab through the guard for Lipinets.
Start touching him, Custio. Start touching him. There you go.
Clayton's trainer, Eric Belanger, has been his trainer since Clayton's pro debut. They work out of, well, Canada's capital city of Ottawa. Belanger believes Clayton's rare blend of speed, power, and ring IQ will make him a threat to anyone in this talent-laden division.
He's a very good ring technician. You know, he doesn't get over his skis, and I mentioned at the beginning of the show, he's not flamboyant, but he's very solid, and he does everything right.
And notice how Clayton, every time he lands that jab or throws that jab, he puts Lipinets in an uncomfortable position. It almost gets him off like a balance. So he got to keep going with that jab, just as he did right now, Clayton.
And he told us at the fighter meeting that that was going to be a key part of his attack this evening.
Lipinets, originally supposed to face Kudratillo Abdukharov, had visa issues. He feels that Abdukharov is more active and Clayton is more accurate. He also feels that Abdukharov is a little more aggressive and Clayton is patient, and Clayton showcasing that patience here in the first round as they exchange jabs as we go to round number 2.
Turn.
Let's take a look at the keys to victory, beginning with Sergey Lipinets. And he needs to pave his way inside, I think, by using the jab. And I think he wants to get on the inside. He didn't do that in round 1, but that's the best way to get inside. He has a terrific uppercut, and I think once they start fighting on the inside, you're going to see that. And volume punching. You know, he only threw 25 punches in the first round. Clayton doesn't throw many either, so he's got to punch more. As for Clayton, work the body when he can get inside. He's a terrific body puncher, and that's something he wants to do. No lulls. He's sometimes, like he did in round 1, he just doesn't throw much. And he has a very good right hand. And Lipinets has been hurt badly 3 times in fights with the right hand.
Round number 2, welterweight division. As stacked as they come, and of course the winner of this fight becomes a mandatory challenger for the winner of another big fight coming up in December. Errol Spence Jr. returning from that hellacious car crash to defend his title against former champion Danny Garcia. And now Lipinets coming forward, trying to establish the jab, overhand right, blocked. Clayton shelling up and then moving to his right away from the ropes, and he flashes the jab.
One of these boxers, I think, is going to have to get a little bit out of character. Now, Lipinets has been more. Oh my!
That was a good shot by Clayton.
Good shot. Lipinets has been more of a volume puncher in recent fights, but in this fight, he hasn't gotten off to that kind of start.
I think he and Lamont Peterson redefined the term volume punching in their scrap.
Did they ever?
Wow.
That was a...
What was it, almost 2,000 punches combined?
Oh, fantastic fight.
And what a career for Lamont Peterson. From a homeless child with his brother, Anthony, and then what about Barry Hunter, what he meant to their careers.
Yeah, really a wonderful story. Lipinets not unlimbering that jab yet. And, you know, he's not using that punch, and that would help him kind of set up his offense.
You know who is?
Yeah, that other guy in the ring. Yeah.
And he's doing a really good job.
Yeah,
and jab. Yeah.
And it's interesting when Lipinets does throw it, it's like with disdain, he puts a lot of almost anger into it, while Clayton has been very smooth and calm and throwing his jab with a little panache. Is that a word I
like it.
I like it, yeah. Panache is always one of my favorite words.
I use it all the time.
Nice jab to the belly by Lipinets, and then went over top with the right hand. That was a great combination. Final minute of the second. And it's almost as if Clayton is waiting for Lipinets to bring the fight to him.
And he is. He's almost counting his steps. Like he's waiting for Lipinets to come in. He counts 1, 2, and then he lets that, there it is, that jab go to a body or to the head.
Sharp
and
jab
gets Lipinets out of balance.
And it's funny because in his last fight in January against Diego Ramirez, it was a piercing jab to the solar plexus that ended the fight in the 8th round, and we mentioned it already tonight, but that's the same punch Jermell Charlo used to stop Jason Rosario in their 154-pound title unification fight on Showtime pay-per-view.
There you go. Come back with the right hand.
Well, Clayton just missed with that counter right hand. Let's go to Brian Custer.
Okay, Mo, thank you. And joining me now is Xavier Martinez, who's now 16-0, although that 16th victory came the hard way. Xavier, explain to us, how does a guy who goes down twice in the 8th round come back and win a fight by unanimous decision?
I got the will to win. I didn't want to lose. You know, I trained hard. I trained very hard for this fight, and you know, I wasn't gonna go down like that. I wanted to show everybody that, you know, even though I got dropped, you know, I could come back and win it.
Well, you got dropped not only once, but you get dropped twice. What did you learn about yourself in this fight?
That, you know, I got the will to win. You know, I feel like a lot of young fighters, you know, some will fold. I didn't fold under that pressure. And to be honest, I thought I slipped the first knockdown, and then the second one was a good one. But you know, I'm proud of myself. Yeah. You know, I showed a lot of character with this fight.
No, you certainly did that, and congratulations on the victory. Remains unbeaten. We look forward to seeing you in the future.
Hey, thank you, Brian. Have a good one.
All right, thank you, Mo. Back to you.
All right, BC. As we get set here, this is round number 3, and because both Lipinets and Clayton like to move forward, a key moment is going to be when one guy forces the other to consistently fight on the retreat out.
Yeah, except I don't know, you're probably right, except the question is, can Clayton win this fight by boxing and using that jab? He might reach a point where he thinks he can do that. We'll see.
If Lipinets is not as busy.
Yes, right.
Yes, I think Clayton can. Definitely Lipinets needs to be more aggressive, lets his hands go a little bit more.
And he's doing that.
And he is doing that. And key that you mentioned, Al, is jabbing inside. Yeah. He steps in without the jab, and that's when he gets caught with that from the jab from Clayton.
Yeah, good point. The jab can be a counterpunch for Clayton.
Yes. Their total punches, a slight edge for Clayton, and coming into the fight, both of them work at nearly the identical pace.
Yeah. Yeah, almost exactly. And you know, that's most of those punches that Clayton landed were jabs.
There's a right hand to the body by Lipinets.
And Lipinets
counter right hand by Clayton.
And that Clayton has a really good right hand. And there have been a couple of fighters that have stunned Lipinets with that punch. So Clayton does want to get that in, and of course the jab sets that up.
And this pace of boxing right now of fighting favors Clayton.
Yeah.
He's just waiting for a counter punch. He jabs you here and there, you know, and he's winning rounds like that.
To the body by Lipinets, right uppercut on the inside, and Lipinets now looks for that uppercut again, just grazing the jaw of Clayton. But Clayton again, very poised and circling away from the ropes.
See, Sergey Lipinets looked over at the monitor and read my keys to victory. That's why he threw those uppercuts, I think, right?
Has to be.
Yeah, it's the only reason I
They're
can
Hall of
think
Fame uppercuts.
I wish I could see him before the fight.
No, something tells me you could figure out your game plan without me. I'm pretty sure.
Under a minute left here in round 3. Lipinets backing up Clayton. But again, Clayton able to escape the ropes, get reset in the center of the ring. And again, there's a nice jab, but backs up to the ropes, and then Lipinets fires back. Clayton said Canada's current lone male belt holder, the Haitian-born Jean Pascal, inspired Clayton, and there's a left hook from Lipinets. Clayton started boxing at the age of 9. His superlative amateur skills propelled him to the 2012 Canadian Olympic team. And now his cousin Kirk Johnson, a 92 Olympian and a former heavyweight title challenger. Let's hope Clayton doesn't have the propensity for below-the-belt blows like Johnson did in his DQ loss against John Ruiz. And we are through 3 rounds here in the fight sphere in this welterweight main event, and aggression from Clayton at the end of the round.
Damn!
Abner and I talked about the jab as more of a weapon and as a counterpunch for Clayton. And back in round 2, you can see some evidence of that. Countering the movement of Lipinets because Lipinets didn't jab his way in.
Exactly. I mean, like you mentioned, the key for victory for Lipinets is jabbing his way in, and he's not doing so, and he's getting caught with that jab by Clinton.
Now, the last round, I think, was a good one for Lipinets.
It was a close round, yes.
Using that jab, can you use that? We're going to use that. The right hand of the body, but try to follow up with the left hook to the body as well. Okay? You're going to find that. You're going to find the home for that right hand. Yeah.
Back up, back up.
Lipinets trainer Joe Goosen refusing to be mic'd up tonight. We won't be getting trainer tracks from one of the best. Saving it for his broadcasting career, I guess, Al.
Yeah, he's doing a fine job.
He is doing a fine job. And Clayton, if you, in looking over his past few results, as Lipinets now continues to walk him down and has Clayton along the ropes, right uppercut, and now it's Lipinets working the body. You know, it was Clayton who was relying on his boxing IQ to cut off the ring and force opponents to remain near the ropes, but now, tonight, it's Lipinets who's putting Clayton on the ropes.
Yeah, this is what they want Lipinets to do. I mean, this is the fight he needs to make.
Well, let's see if Lipinets can keep doing that. I mean, I know the round just started. He was able to get in, but Clayton again, back foot, jab, closing up really good. Just left him there.
Hand counter on the inside by Clayton, who's again able to circle away from the ropes. Jab to the body by the Canadian. But there's a right hand to the body by Lipinets.
Do it again, do it again. Keep working.
There's a double jab in the third one. Piercing jab to the midsection by Clayton.
And you know, we have to think as we're looking at this, Lipinets is by far the best fighter that Clayton has fought. So as he kind of uses his computer to figure this out, and Ebner, you know this, when you're taking a step, it takes a little while to figure out what you're up against.
Yes, it does, 100%. You're up against a fighter that, and a different side we've never seen, experienced fighter in Lipinets, but I think Clayton is doing a fantastic job. I mean, not doing much out of the ordinary, the basics, 1-2, but, you know, doing it fantastic.
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather, master of many things, including collecting that data in early rounds and then putting it to work. So Lipinets doing his homework as well, going to the body. There's a counter left hand upstairs by Clayton, but Sergey Lipinets dictating the terms of the fight in this round.
Yeah, he's controlling it. I thought he did to an extent in the last round as well. So Clayton's going to have to start hitting him with something.
Right hand to the body, another right hand to the body, and a third one by Clayton.
He might have stunned Lipinets with that punch.
And the jab from Clayton. Lipinets jabbing, looking to jab the body. But yeah, you're right, Al. Lipinets has suddenly slowed down just a tad after the triple right hands to the body by Clayton.
And landing a nice right hand as well to the head.
There's another counter right to the midsection by Custio Clayton. Less than 20 seconds left here in round 4.
Back down with the jab. There we go.
This was around Lipinets was winning. It's got close.
There you go.
Time.
All right.
Come on, baby.
All right. This is where we got to start taking over. You hurt him with the body there twice, okay? Keep jabbing, keep jabbing, keep jabbing. When he starts backing up, you start pouring it on him, okay?
Well, Sergey Lipinets got off to an excellent start in this round, working downstairs, doubling with that hook to the head, and getting that uppercut in. I can't overemphasize that how important that uppercut is. And look at the same sequence, Abner, and he needs that uppercut. That's his big power punch on the inside.
Yes, he opens it up with those body shots that he threw at the beginning, and that is a clean uppercut. Again, going back to the body.
And speaking of the body, here comes Clayton. Man, that was a thunderous right hand.
Clayton finding a home for that uppercut also, for that right uppercut.
That actually looked like you used to throw up those kind of right hands to the body as well. That's one of your stock in trades.
Yes, I did here and there, but Clayton has done a fantastic job when he gets on the ropes and even as a counterpunch, you're just waiting for him.
Round number 5, we heard from Clayton's trainer, Eric Belanger. By the way, feels Clayton has one of the best jabs in the division, especially to the body. We've seen evidence of that in this fight, and there's the jab again on display. But to your point, Al, that those series of right hands to the body in the last round seemed to serve Clayton well.
And you know, you mentioned the jab. Clayton is landing 37. He's landed 37 of 97 jabs. That's 38% for his jab. That's exceptional.
And twice as many as Lipinets in this fight thus far.
Good arithmetic, Morrow.
Quick arithmetic. I'm a Canadian-educated person, just like Custio Clayton.
Hands back up and put the pressure on. Let's go.
Although Clayton expected to get a real good education in boxing tonight from Sergey Lipinets, a guy who was, again, in just his 13th professional fight, won a title at 140, having to overcome adversity, a cut against Akihiro Kondo to win that fight, and then in his next fight, daring to be great against Mikey Garcia, and now here at a new weight class, he's 3-0 with 2 stoppages.
And you know, he lost to Mikey Garcia, but he performed very well in that fight.
Good.
And I think that announced to people, even though he'd already won that 140-pound title, that announced to people that he was a fighter to be reckoned with.
That right hand by Clayton moved Lipinets a bit. Lipinets took it well, but Clayton has had his success in these early rounds, but Lipinets continues to work the body, and he continues to dictate the pace. It's the counterattack that Clayton is looking for.
There's that jab to a body once again from Clayton. I mean, Lipinets has his moments, you know, landing that straight right hand, but he's not letting go of that hook. Working the body well, but Clayton doing a fantastic job of using the entire ring.
You know, and I'll tell you, I watched several fights, video of Clayton. Did not see him move like this. You know, not this much, and he is using that ring very effectively.
They've been waiting 2 years for an opportunity like this, and while it came at the expense of Kudratillo Abdukahorov due to visa issues, Clayton didn't take long for him to say yes, and again, undefeated in a division that is filled with sharks, and now that jab again successful here in round 5. Right hand chopping down by Clayton.
You know, Clayton's holding his ground a little bit more, just by inches. I think in the next round or 2, we're going to see him try and push Lipinets back.
And another counter right hand by Clayton that lands on the body.
Time.
Well, next week, Premier Boxing Champions presents a Showtime pay-per-view. 3-time champ Gervonta Davis takes on 4-division champion Leo Santa Cruz for the WBA Super Featherweight and WBA Lightweight titles. For an exclusive look inside both camps' preparation for the fight, stay tuned for an encore presentation of All Access Davis vs. Santa Cruz episodes 1 and 2 immediately following tonight's Showtime Boxing Special Edition. This Emmy Award-winning series takes an intimate look at both fighters' histories and their preparations for next week's showdown. Can't wait to be in San Antonio.
Hey, I want you to think like a winner. period. We're going to go get this guy. We're going to get this guy. You understand? Okay? No time to get tired. Let's go. Let's go.
Seconds out. Seconds out. Right there, right there, right there.
This is round number 6, scheduled for 12 at 147 pounds. To the victor goes a status as a mandatory challenger at 147, and then Clayton puts together the combination upstairs.
Lipinets came out jabbing to try and work his way in, but then here's Clayton winning the battle of the jab.
Yeah, this is the best Clayton has looked thus far in the fight.
He might have found something, that jab, and now he's letting that right hand go a little bit more, Al.
Yeah.
And one thing we mentioned about him using the entire ring, but he also knows how to use the ropes. He bounces well with those ropes and counters with that with that right uppercut.
There's a sharp jab that popped Lipinets' head back, and Lipinets unable to cut off the ring.
The other thing is that we saw Peterson do it against Lipinets. When you throw a little looping right hand, you can get in against Lipinets.
There's a clubbing right hand, and Lipinets showing some power to the body as well, and there's a jab.
You feel the urgency from Lipinets. He wants to be more aggressive here. It's just the movement and the counterpunching of Clayton sometimes breaks up his attack.
And Clayton's, bigger than Lipinets. Lipinets coming up from 140. Clayton established at 147, but by far the biggest test of his career, and acquitting himself well thus far in the first half of this 12-round affair.
And Lipinets not so much closing the ring on Clayton. He's letting him go, just following him. Right there is where he needs to put his right foot, there it is, to close that distance and to close that ring from Clayton.
There's a counter right hand again by Clayton.
He is just a very good counterpuncher, Custio Clayton.
And Lipinets continues to target the body.
And really accurate too, Clayton.
Yeah, yeah.
Very effective jab, fighting from the right distance, now backing up along the ropes, and Lipinets digging to the body. So Lipinets on the offense here.
You want to get in close. Let's go.
And Joe Goosen saying, you want to get in close. Let's go. Yeah. Oh, you got to be careful of those counters. There's a stiff jab from Clayton. Clayton doing well from the corner as Lipinets throws a left hook and allows Clayton to escape.
That's where Lipinets wants him, and he did a little good work, but as you point out, also countering coming from Clayton. I said it at the beginning, man, he's a good technician.
Yes, he is.
We are through the first half of this 12-round welterweight fight here at the Fight Sphere.
One round at a time, and that one was ours. We're going into 7. We're entering the second half, okay? You don't like your job, you don't like the body work. Okay?
We've talked about Clayton's counterpunching, and as Lipinets comes in here, he'll loop a right hand, I think, around the guard. That's what this is. Yeah, it kind of
right hand, yes,
sneaks around. And I mentioned Peterson had done that. Sometimes you need to do that to land against him. And this is Lipinets getting him against the ropes, and he lands his own right hand. And that was a good spot in this round for Lipinets. And there, we talked about the jabs. They both land jabs here. They trade them. And for Clayton, that's been a story of this fight. Lipinets needs to get that punch going a little better.
We begin round number 7, and throughout his career against granted lower-level opposition, Clayton has presented a near impenetrable defense thanks to his high and tight guard. And Al, against Diego Ramirez and Johan Perez, they landed only 3 punches per round.
Yes,
Clayton.
I saw that statistic, and that is an amazing one, isn't it? I mean, and they're both decent fighters.
Yes.
They're not world class, they're not A-level fighters, but they're both very good, and they just had a hard time landing against Clayton.
Well, let's find out if Steve Farhood has had a hard time scoring this fight on his unofficial scorecard.
Mo, this is a pleasure to score because The fighters are making it very difficult on each other, and by doing that, they're making it very difficult on the 3 judges. This is a very close fight in my view. I can't see any judges having it more than 4-2 at this point, either way. But I wouldn't argue with either way. Lipinets, the aggressor, but not always the more effective aggressor. So, very close fight. And I think it'll be decided in the second half.
You said you can't see the judges having it a certain way. Would you like to borrow my glasses? It is a close encounter of the 147 kind here as Clayton fighting outside of his native Canada for the first time against the crafty Sergey Lipinets, who is continuing to attack the body, but he's allowing Clayton to chew up real estate.
Come on, Clayton. Come on, Clayton.
We talked about the jabs in this fight and the story they've told, and you see Clayton doubling the number of jabs landed. And Lipinets has thrown a fair amount. That's actually more than I thought he had thrown, so it's instructive when we're looking at these numbers from Show Stats. But Clayton's been more accurate.
Abner, as we begin here the second half of the fight, as you have taken a look, as we all have, as what Custio Clayton has been able to do, what Sergey Lipinets is doing. Can you talk at all about any adjustments you would like to see either fighter make going down the stretch?
Well, first from Lipinets, he can't stand right in front of Clayton. And when he does, he has to be really inside, right there, on his chest, work the body, uppercuts, not at the distance where Clayton is going to be able to jab him in right hand. From Clayton, I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think he's using the entire ring. He's bouncing off those ropes, counter punching just like that. Great right hand and moving back to his distance.
Yeah, solid technique on display from Custio Clayton, and really showing a lot of poise as Lipinets tries to attack the body again, bouncing off the arm, and those ones are at the belt.
There you go. Keep working in there.
And a lot of it will be, do the judges think that flurries like that, when those punches were kind of mostly blocked, are they giving Lipinets credit for those?
Yeah, interesting.
Well, the welterweight division is known as the Glamour division, and Sergey Lipinets now a member in good stead. And Steve Farhood, there are notable welterweights who were former 140-pound titleists.
Exactly true, Mo. One of the reasons the 147-pound division has been so strong for so long is because the 140-pound division has fed the welterweights more fighters. You see a list here that Lipinets is on because he was a junior welterweight champion a couple of years ago, and he's looking for one of those little red flags there next to his name to join Broner, Crawford, Garcia, and Vargas as fighters who won titles both at 140 and 147. If he wins this fight, he is likely to get a chance to do just that.
But in a division that is filled with so many big names, big money fights, it's not good enough just to win. You need to make a statement. You need to stand out, right, Abner?
Yes, Lipinets is asking about, you know, he wants respect on his name, but, you know, you have to win those fights. You got to get to those big names.
And Clayton?
Today it opened up, I'm sorry, it opens up position. I mean, this is the IBF interim title, the opportunity to fight the winner of Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, so definitely a big fight for both.
Yes, it is, as Lipinets just bounced a right hand off the side of Clayton's head, but Clayton just remains calm, cool, and collected, and really that jab is poetry at times, Al.
Yeah, we're heading into these later rounds, and let's take a look at how these fighters have fared. You know, past round 7, both have done very well. When they've gone the full 12, Clayton is 1-0 and Lipinets is 1-1. Of course, the one loss was to Mikey Garcia, a more than forgivable loss in which he performed well.
See, and you got to try to get in there when he throws, when Clayton throws that jab. And what Lipinets is doing is he's just taking the jab, and he's standing in position for a right hand, that, as we saw right there. If he throws the jab, try to slip the jab. Try to slip it. Don't just try to catch it.
Of course, we mentioned Lipinets. Well, every fighter almost has had a longer layoff due to COVID, but Lipinets coming off a 15-month layoff.
You know, I think this is a very close fight, as Steve's scorecard suggested. I hardly ever disagree with Steve Farhood, but if it were me, I might have Clayton ahead by 1.
You're trying to curry favor with the Canadian audience, Al.
Yes. I desperately want their approval.
You may
May want that. 1:15 left in the 8th, but you're right. I mean, it's a very competitive
really
fight,
is.
and both fighters have been able to make their marks. It has been definitely the jab of Clayton, but Lipinets continuing to walk forward, landing to the body.
Up and down, hands up, let's go.
Under a minute left in the 8th as Lipinets again attacks the body. There's a body shot from Clayton.
Another one.
Lead right hand to the body by Clayton. There's a combination, and then Lipinets just missed with the sweeping left hook, but lands the right to the body. So the pace beginning to pick up here in the last 30 seconds of the 8th round.
And how about this? They've thrown almost exactly the same amount of punches. Lipinets 373 and 370 for Clayton.
Well, remember what we said about them working at nearly the identical pace.
There it is.
The advertising speaks for itself.
And Clayton landing at 39%, Lipinets at 29% so far.
Lipinets goes to the body. And we are about to go to round 9 in this, the main event, a welterweight contest at the Fight Sphere.
Let's take a look back at one of the keys to victory. I suggested the right hand would be important for Clayton. Well, he has done it on a number of occasions, mostly from a countering posture. And sometimes when he throws it like a little looping right hand around the guard of Lipinets. I mentioned Lamont Peterson was able to do it. And there again, when Lipinets gets in his shell, if you bring the right hand from the side, you can get it home. So obviously, this is only one part of the fight, but, you know, he's landed that.
I have us up, and we don't know what the judges are looking at, okay? So keep jabbing. Don't let him walk in. That was a nice round. Let's build off that. Keep touching that body. That's slowing him down.
He's tired, baby. He's tired, baby.
Tired. He's looking for the hip shots, okay?
You right now. Here, John, take that. Sorry.
Let's go, let's go.
Put the mouthpiece in.
Mouthpiece. Let's go, the corner, seconds out.
You got it.
This is round number 9, scheduled for 12. The words from Eric Belanger in Clayton's corner, Joe Goosen in Lipinets' corner, and both of them seem to be sticking to the respective game plans, trying to mete out the strategy and directions, and both of them attempting to follow that. And for Clayton, of course, he's really stuck to his game plan.
You know, we saw a moment ago Lipinets stop Clayton from moving to his right and kind of got him off to the left, and he was able to get inside and land a couple of punches. So when you cut the ring off effectively, it helps you. And this fight, according to Steve, dead even at this point. It could well be.
Oh, there's that right uppercut by Clayton, and Lipinets ate it and then ate the jab through the guard, and it momentarily bothered Lipinets, but Custio Clayton going to the body with those right hands, and now Lipinets attacking the body.
You know, Lipinets has landed a lot more body punches than Clayton. Clayton's a good body puncher, but Lipinets has tripled his amount of punches landed to the body. So that's an impressive feat for Lipinets.
Meanwhile, it's a 2-to-1 advantage for jabs landed for Custio Clayton.
Tale of a fight that has a tale of two fights here. There's the body punches that, you know, we talked about. Lipinets is a terrific body puncher.
Oh, there's a counter right hand by Clayton, and then upstairs the jab from Lipinets, and Lipinets now throwing with bad intentions, and another counter from Clayton, Abner. That right hand counter continues to be there.
Yes, yes, it is. For Clayton, obviously, he might seem like he's in trouble at moments, and then he comes with that sneaky uppercut out of nowhere. He's really good with it.
I'm sorry, Abner. This round is this fight in microcosm. It's both men doing exactly what they've done well.
There's a right uppercut by Lipinets. Under a minute left in the 9th.
This fight's picking up.
And it's interesting to see how the judges score it. We just talked about the body work that Lipinets is doing. The judges looking at that. Clayton being really effective with the clean punches to the head.
And while Clayton's had some effective counters to the body.
Good. Come on.
Lead right hand off the shoulder. There's a stiff jab by Clayton. 20 seconds left here in the ninth.
20 seconds, 20 seconds.
The head movement going.
And Lipinets' head movement, avoiding the attack of Clayton. Some good defense being displayed by Samurai.
You rinse that off. Little grease. Thank you. Deep breath. There you go. See, that was a much better round. You've got to keep your feet moving. Get more relaxed and start punching hard. Okay? You understand? With both hands, you got to use that hook.
Well, you know, we talked about that last round being kind of the fight in microcosm. Here's, from Clayton's standpoint, nice counter right hand that kind of pushed Lipinets back and would go with another right hand. But then Sergey Lipinets, and that jab also pushing him. Sergey Lipinets has, when he's attacked like this, and look, what happened? He paved his way in with the jab, and look what that made happen for him. He gets to go to the body, gets to come with the left hook upstairs, and pushed Clayton into the position he wanted him.
This is round number 10.
Before that ninth round ended, Lipinets did something that I've been asking for, which is head movement, body movement. When Clayton was throwing that jab, he missed all those 3 jabs because Lipinets was able to move his torso. He's moving his head, not just catching that jab.
And we heard Joe Goosen allude to that.
Yeah, and his feet as well. He wants him to move his feet more. But yeah, the head movement on display there in round 9 as our unofficial score. Steve Farhood has Lipinets ahead by 1.
Al said, wow.
Okay, so these rounds are tough to score.
Pick it up, man. Pick it up.
Left hook to the body, a jab by Lipinets, and Clayton misses with the left hook downstairs, although catches him with the jab. A minute gone here in the 10th. Lead left uppercut misses for Lipinets, shakes out the lactic acid is Clayton. Clayton now is all about the jab. Needs to start putting combinations together as well.
He did a second ago, Mo. I like how he set up the jab and then he came back with the 1, 2, 3 against Lipinets. But Lipinets trying to, there it is, the head movement, trying to get in.
And Clayton parried that jab. Yeah, puts together that combination. But
you know, you have to ask yourself a basic question. Clayton has spent most of this fight moving sideways or backwards. Yes, he's landed good counter punches. Will the judges see that as retreat or as tactical movement?
That is a good question.
Remember the key moment that we talked about? Will it be when one man forces the other to consistently fight on the retreat? And now you bring up the point right now, even though his counter game has been effective, you bring up a salient point as to what the judges will be looking for. Final minute of the 10th.
Watch your feet, watch your feet.
Jab lands for Lipinets.
Finish strong, finish strong. Come on, baby.
There's another jab for Lipinets, and now Clayton tackle. Oh, there's a counter jab that.
Did we mention the experience? I'm sorry, Mo. The experience that Clayton brings, maybe not facing the most recognized names as a pro, but he is also an amateur. He has a 2012 ex-Olympian.
Yeah, Olympic.
And he fought Errol Spence, lost the decision, but fought Errol Spence as an amateur.
Oh, and just landed a solid right hand.
If a fight can be a fascinating tactical fight, this one is it.
Well, for a time, Sergey Lipinets thought about playing chess for a living. That's how good he is. And, well, it's a cliche now, but boxing is the human game of chess.
Well, these numbers are going to be intriguing for sure as we look at the overall numbers in the fight. You know, you can see body punches, Lipinets doing better. Headshots, Clayton doing better. And many of those headshots are jabs. So and counter right hands. And, you know, Lipinets landing at, 53%, it's impressive. You know, both men have done some very good work here.
Alan, your keys, you talked about Clayton not having any lulls. Do you think they're...
Let me correct myself. I said landing at. I meant throwing that percentage of punches.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
In terms of your key, no lulls, I wonder if at times... Have we even seen a glimpse of potentially that, especially in the second half of the fight?
It's a very good point. You know, I said it specifically for Clayton. It could apply to both fighters, and maybe within certain rounds we have.
No lull here to kick.
No, that's
round
for sure.
11. A nice jab lands for Clayton, and then he goes to the body. Really effective with the placement of his jab. Now he needs to just follow up with that right hand.
Yes, that's what he was missing, Clayton. He was throwing the jab here, and there, but he needs to throw it upstairs, downstairs, get Lipinets' attention, you know, all over, and then next you know, the right hand comes.
Close fight. You know, when I botched up that graphic, what I wanted to say and what I should have said was 53% of the punches Lipinets throwing are, 47% are body punches, I should say. That's a lot of body punches in terms of your percentage of what you throw. The judges need to be giving you credit for those.
There's a left hook by Lipinets, but again, Clayton able to move to his left, throws the jab. And Goosen imploring Lipinets to keep moving his feet.
But look how Lipinets is not closing the ring. He's not closing the ring on Clayton, and he's able to get out easy.
And a key thing is he's only thrown 20 punches in this round to 48 for Clayton. At this juncture, not that volume is the whole answer, but you want to be throwing punches, especially for your Lipinets. And you hear Joe Goosen, keep the pressure on. Let's go, throw it.
There's Clayton again, just looking to keep Lipinets at bay with his stick, that left-hand jab, then the counter right, and again he's able to bail out of off the ropes to the center and then backs up again. Minute left here, under a minute remaining in the 11th round. There's a counter right hand again by Clayton, misses with that one. Lipinets continues to target the body.
45. What a jab.
That was a beauty,
jab.
Wasn't it?
There have been a few beauties.
Yes. I think that Clayton is having himself a very good 11th round.
We said he would be a live underdog. He's proven to be just that here in the final 20 seconds of the 11th round.
Keep working now. Here we go.
And there's Lipinets, hands down and then winds up, throws the right. And again goes to that, but almost got countered with that right hand from Clayton. 12th and final round, super close welterweight fight.
Well, Clayton has landed 124 jabs in this fight, and we look back at this past round and you will see several examples. That's a nice jab. After the right hand, Lipinets did not get it back into position, and then he jabs to the body, and then different sequence where we see again the good work by Clayton with that jab. He told us at the fighter meetings that's going to be a staple of my attack, and it has been.
Go backwards. You cannot stop punching. You cannot stop working. You got to use that left hook too. He's looking to counter.
Last round, touch glove center of the ring.
Thank you. Every time you throw the right hand, he's looking to counter with the right hand.
So last round.
Punch inside those wide punches.
You want more than him?
Come on.
Fucking get it.
You can do this, baby.
Last round.
Real present.
From Joe Gans to Larry Holmes, there have been some amazing jabs in the sport of boxing. Custio Clayton banking on his jab here in the biggest fight of his life, the 12th and final round. The undefeated Clayton in his American debut taking on former 140-pound belt holder Sergey Lipinets, the winner to become a mandatory challenger for one of the alphabet titles in the welterweight division. This fight could very well be up for grabs. And according to our unofficial scorer, Steve Farhad, he has the Canadian underdog ahead by 1 heading into this, the final round.
You can do this, baby!
Even though he wasn't mic'd, we heard Joe Goosen, you know, giving instructions to Lipinets and telling him he's got to really get going.
What a beauty right there by Clayton.
Oh, and that jab.
Made him missed. 1-2. I'm sorry, Mo.
No, please.
Counter right away.
Yeah, he's becoming more and more confident in this, in the 12th round, establishing the jab, clubbing right hand over the top. Lipinets coming forward, but not throwing any punches.
You know, Clayton never did push Lipinets back. He thought he might have to do that in this fight. And remember we said at the beginning, could he win this fight boxing? And he's boxed most of the way.
Yes, the effective jab, the effective counterattack. It's been a display of boxing from Custio Clayton, but Sergey Lipinets coming forward.
Yeah, that's not to say Clayton's going to win this fight, but he's given himself a chance to win by doing that. And for total punches, there you see an edge to Clayton. And one of the most significant things to me is for him to have thrown more, though it's not by a monstrous amount, than Lipinets, I think it's fairly significant.
Over 1,200 punches thrown between Lipinets and Clayton. A minute now left in the 12th and final round. Sergey Lipinets wants to prove that he is an elite welterweight. Custio Clayton wants to prove that there is a new player in town at 147, and he's from Canada. The undefeated Clayton, the former champion Lipinets, have 40 seconds to settle things here in tonight's main event.
Let your hands go. 30 seconds. 30, let's go.
I think if there was a time for Clayton to try and back him up, now's the time. That would leave it in the judges' minds that, and he's standing his ground. He's not moving too much.
1, 2, 1, 2, let's go.
Custio Clayton took the fight on short notice, but he has turned in a terrific performance. Is it enough to knock off the former champion Sergey Lipinets? The judges will determine the verdict.
Okay.
Sergey Lipinets, first fight after a career-long 15-month layoff, and Custio Clayton smiles with his corner, Eric Boulanger.
Well, there will be 3 very important people in this room in the next several moments, and there are the judges: Glenn Feldman, Tom Schreck, Don Trella, and you know, all experienced judges, and they did not have an easy task in this match. This was a well-fought, close encounter of the third kind. And the numbers in this match, fascinating on every level. You know, Lipinets doing a terrific job of landing body punches. The jab work by Clayton, when you're landing 30% of your jabs and you're throwing so many, that's impressive. And in general, an edge for Clayton. But again, it's where were those punches congregated in each round, because boxing is scored round by round.
России, моим болельщикам, в Казахстане, всей моей семье. Большое спасибо, кто смотрел. Muchas gracias, mis amigos mexicanos and latinos. Thank you very much, everybody.
You heard Sergey Lipinets. He says he's a hybrid Mexican-style, Russian-style fighter, speaking in Spanish and Russian.
Exactly.
And Custio Clayton, again from Nova Scotia, the province that produced the sport's first black champion in George Dixon, a storied history in the sweet science. And Custio Clayton, is he on the cusp of the biggest win of his career in his first fight in the United States of America?
And no matter what this decision ends up being, that young man, age 33, but as he said, a young 33, and he proved that tonight, he showed he is a fighter that belongs at center stage in this division.
All right, we're all sitting on tender hooks. Here is Jimmy Lennon Jr. to announce the winner's name.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 12 rounds of action, we go to the scorecards. Judge at ringside, Don Trella, sees the action 115 to 113 in favor of Custio Clayton. Judges Glenn Feldman and Tom Schreck both score the bout 114 to 114. Even a draw. The decision is a majority draw.
Like I said, Jimmy Lennon Jr. was going to announce this a draw. What a fight. Wow. Obviously a tough fight to score. And, you know, you question sometimes scores, but in this case, an argument can be made for a draw.